I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume. So I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. So we are once again reading in the Gospels. We're in the last few months of Christ's ministry. This is like the last 6 months. We're in that home stretch. This is just after the Feast of Tabernacles. Christ is still down among the Jews in Jerusalem. A lot of controversy. Most recently, he healed a blind man on the Sabbath, and the man got kicked out of the synagogue for defending Christ. But a lot of controversy is going on, and that's why we left it. We are now picking this up in John chapter 10. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. And what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. John chapter 10, verses 1 through 21. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them. This parable of the sheepfold and the shepherd is somewhat odd for the modern day. We don't fully understand everything because of our context, but the basics of it. A sheepfold could have multiple shepherds bring their sheep there, and the porter would keep the gate, and you would bring multiple shepherds could bring their sheep in for them to stay the night in a protected sheepfold. Now, if you're an honest shepherd and you have sheep there, you come to the door, the porter opens it, and you call your sheep, and your sheep understand you. They recognize your voice, and they follow the shepherd out, and he leads them into the green pastures. And it is leads them because he's not hurting them. He's not standing behind, pushing them along. He is walking in front, following where all the food is, and they're following behind him to make sure they get the food. But what does this mean? This is not talking exclusively about baptism per se, although that is part of it. This is more talking about the authority. The one who comes with proper authority is the shepherd. And when he calls, the people under hear him. They recognize his voice. Christ is the shepherd. He is the one that has this authority. The robbers try coming in another way and taking the sheep out of the sheepfold. But the shepherd has the authority, and he is the one that they will follow willingly. So the faithful recognize the authority of Christ. They recognize his power, and they follow him. Verse 7. Then said Jesus unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment I received of my Father. So Christ is the door, because as we read in the scriptures, throughout the scriptures really, there is no other name given under heaven whereby man can be saved. He is the way, the truth, and the light. He is the door of the sheepfold. Anyone who comes not in his name and with his authority, is a robber. Now he says all those who came before him are robbers. He's not talking about the prophets. He's talking about those who come, who are not coming in his name. But there's a lot of other things here. The good shepherd, the hireling fleeth and does not defend the sheep, but the good shepherd will give his life for the sheep. But two other points down here. It says in 16, other sheep I have which are not of this fold. The sheep, or the fold, the flock, that's Israel. Other sheep I have means there are other groups of Israelites who have faith, and I will go and visit them just as I am teaching you. I will teach them. We see this in the Book of Mormon. We will read about it shortly when Christ visits the Nephites. He also visited the lost tribes. And if you look at some of the legends around the world, I think that he visited in Europe and Asia as well. But that's what the other sheep are. Now a little later, verses 17 and 18, he says, no man taketh my life, I lay it down freely. I have the power to lay down my life and the power to take it up. He's talking about no man can actually kill Christ. He died because he chose to die. He gave his life. He didn't just allow somebody to take it, he actually gave it. And he also resurrected himself because he had that power within him. He's the only one who has ever had that power in him. Let us finish this portion, picking it up in verse 19. There was a division, therefore, again among the Jews for these sayings, and many of them said, he hath a devil and is mad. Why hear ye him? Others said, these are not the words of him that hath a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind? So, just more controversies among the Jews themselves. They can't quite decide. Some believe in Christ, some don't, and they are arguing. Let us now look at the Joseph Smith translation for this portion. First we have in verse 7, at the end, I am the door of the sheep, corrected to sheepfold. Makes much more sense. Verse 8, all that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, corrected. All that ever came before me, who testified not of me, are thieves and robbers. Just like I said, he wasn't talking about the prophets, because they all testify of Christ. But those who do not testify of Christ are thieves and robbers. This also tells us that all the prophets before Christ, meaning all the Old Testament prophets, knew of Christ and prophesied of him. They understood. They had the true gospel. This wasn't something new to the New Testament era. In verse 11, instead of his life for the sheep, it's his sheep. Verse 12 has a couple of changes. Here, let's read 12 through 14. These are the last three to have corrections, and it's all somewhat interesting. So in the Joseph Smith translation, they read, and the shepherd is not as an hireling, whose own the sheep are not, who seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth the sheep, and scattereth them. For I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and are known of mine. But he who is an hireling fleeth, because he is a hireling, and careth not for the sheep. It's very interesting. We once again take verses 13 to 14 and transpose them. They are now, 14 is now 13, and 13 is now 14. I'm not sure it changes the meaning, but it does make it flow a little better. It's just interesting. We leave that here, and we actually will be reading one brief reading in Matthew, and then we will be turning to Luke. As we progress now, the next few days will be largely in Luke, although we will have a couple other videos as well, but we're going to be mainly in Luke for a while. So I will see you there.